doesn't need any explanation of how devastating it is. On the other hand, the marginal holdings of millions of farmers, whether it can be profitable at all, and whether we by the way, people have spoken before this of nationalization of land, okay? Including some of the great thinkers of this country. However, I'm saying that there are options. One, if you look at it, the last 20 years have been spent trying to either forcibly acquire land for the rich, for the corporations, for corporate power, or ease the laws, ease of business, right? So that it becomes easier for companies, for private, for banks, for anyone to acquire agricultural land. That has been the policy direction, and they've been very clear about it. And it's mired in all sorts of legal and other disputes and physical disputes as well, as people resist the attachment to their land. You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, land remains the primary asset of the countryside. It remains that. I think there are many things that people can do. In fact, people in this country have done, and we need to learn from the success and the mistakes of what happened. Now, today when we say the word cooperative in Maharashtra, it's a bad word. Okay? I make a distinction, I call them Khandan cooperatives. They'll have 15,000 members and 2 families that control and fight against each other for the leadership. But there was once such a thing as a cooperative movement, which made Western Maharashtra one of the richest parts of the country. It did things. It's not as nothing. So the question is, how do we emulate the success without repeating the disasters? In your country at this moment is the largest gender justice cum poverty alleviation movement in the world. Unfortunately, it's all under floods right now. It's called Kudumbashri. It has 4.3 million women members. The first time they met in year 2000, there were 10,000 of them in a rally. Now they have 4.3 million members, which means every second household in Kerala is represented in Kudumbashri. These are landless women. Okay? They go into thousands of different kinds of enterprises, including automobiles. On the Thrissur highway, you will find 4 or 5 garages, auto garages run entirely by women. And your car gets repaired as well as it does by the male, without the grumbling and the bad behavior. But the core of Kudumbashri is 57,000 groups, agriculture groups called Sangha Krishis. The second thing you want to know is that it is non-partisan in that each one of these collectives has people representing very different political forces. They manage their politics. Third, I learned some of the things that like in the last answer, I learned some things from them. The theoretical sophistication of that movement, which told me for the first time that food security, food sovereignty, these are all very limited concepts. They believe in food justice. The producer shall never go hungry. And they operate the principle of food justice in that this collective of land, there are 57,000 groups ranging from 12 members to 20 odd members. Suppose there are 20 families in a Kudumbashri collective in agriculture. Incidentally, their agriculture tends to be organic or LISA, low input sustainable agriculture. And it tends to be food crop in a state where 90% or whatever, some obscene percent is cash crop. So you see patches of food crop in the Kerala countryside, 9 times out of 10 that will be Kudumbashri. Third, if 20 families create 100 quintals of some product, here is the principle of food justice. You can sell your crop on market, but not before. You cannot sell a single kilogram before each one of those 20 families, its demands have been met. The producer shall not go hungry. So first, what has been grown, you have to meet the needs and requirements of those 20 families. Then you go to the market with surplus. They've managed to change the credit system. In no other part of the country are farmers, especially landless farmers, having the bargaining power that they do because they've become so bloody successful. In many villages of Kerala, they are the biggest depositors. So if the branch manager behaves badly with lady so-and-so, she will pull her account from there and go to a rival bank. Okay? And they've done it. In Kerala, you can't get 15 acres, 20 acres in one patch. Your 20 acres will have 10 pieces all over the village, maybe even in the next village. They've done it. It's inspiring what collective action can do. Sangha Krishi, meaning group farming. So there are very good examples for us to learn.
Due to the time constraint, we'll take last two questions.
Hello sir. So, correct me if I am wrong. तो अभी हमने क्या सुना है, हम जो भी यहाँ बैठे हैं, we should volunteer, we should be charity. Well, what I have received is a connotation of charity. But the statistics you presented, at the rate at which some people are trying to control everything. Farmers got it because they were lowest in the ground. उनको सबसे आसान था रेट करना. But will it come to us at some point of time? And is it really a question of just about volunteer or charity, or is it a necessity right now for us to take action so that, you know, we don't even realize that we are being controlled. We don't end up in such a state.
Okay.
So
the first, Yogendra will have a lot to say about this, but first, I never used and I never subscribed to the word or concept of charity.
that's what I want.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. So you are wrong on that. I'm asking you to worry about your humanity. What kind of person you and I have become or are in danger of becoming. That is not asking you to be it's not asking you to be, granting charity to someone. What you are doing in volunteering or getting involved is also for yourself. It's very much for yourself. But the point is also what you might use the word charity for. I look at it that I don't think that any human being, the so-called rational economic being of the mainstream or the conventional economists, I don't see human beings that way. I see them as having sensibilities, sensitivities, values, feelings, and a generation grows up emulating the role models before it. Right? So, in a generation which grows up being told that greed is good, the great Gordon Gekko statement in the film, Wall Street, greed is good. This has become a oft-repeated statement by conservative economists. They're actually lifting it from a Hollywood movie, and that it encourages competitiveness. I don't know whether you want to live for that. Maybe a very small percentage of the human race does, and maybe a certain percentage gets brainwashed into thinking this is what being human is about. I don't at all subscribe to that view. And I'm saying, you ask me whether will this crisis reach us? My dear friend, it already has. You're in the middle of it. If you want to look at what is happening to your university systems, Look at what is happening to the colleges, the campuses, the fear, the attacks, the cutting to size, curving on the one hand, with a very clear idea of who is to benefit on the other hand. Okay? Now, on the one hand, private universities are coming up, one of which has been given us Institution of Excellence certificate before they've even laid the foundations. Right? While some of the most leading institutions in this country have been denied that time. So it's very, the Times of India has opened Bennett University. I love this particular university. I was trying to watch some of their leaders on the panel, on the podium. When they launched it, they made speeches. Not one clown on that platform knew who Bennett was. They knew that they didn't know his full name. They kept saying Mr. Bennett, the August Mr. Bennett. Then one of them had, I think, done some work and found out that he had a Thomas in front of it. And his full name was Thomas Jewel Bennett. And the burden of their story there was that we are naming it Bennett in honor of this man who was a one-time proprietor and editor of the Times of India. There were many proprietors and editors, but he was a big supporter of home rule. In other words, he was sympathetic to the aspirations of Indians for freedom. As a matter of fact, Thomas Jewel Bennett took pride in putting pressure on the governor of Bombay to throw Bal Gangadhar Tilak into prison for 6 years for sedition, and then complained that it was not enough, the punishment. He spent 6 years in Mandalay prison in Burma. This is the guy after whom you name a university and say that he was pro-Indian freedom and pro-home rule and stuff like that. So it's happening in education. It has reached you. You're up to your neck in it. The question is, what do you want to do about it? That is your call. I think that there is plenty that people can do. I think there are lots of people trying to do things with it. I was witness to the Film and Television Institute of India, where the students stood up for the excellence of the institute. For 105 days, they fought. The imposition of a chairman whom after 8 months, the government itself realized that he was a dodo and took him out. So the crisis is all around us. How we respond to it. You can respond to it in the ways that Yogendra has said. You can respond to it by withdrawing into a shell and saying, no, I don't want any. That would be a legitimate response, I mean, from the point of view of many people. Yeah. But I think there's an exciting amount of stuff out there waiting for you. I also said that when the farmers came into Mumbai, they reached out to students by their action, saying, we are with you, we don't want to disrupt your studies, we don't want to do this. After that, it's your call.
We'll take one last question. Here at the back.
Sir, during the discussion, there was a statement that farmer suicide is the consequence of the malfunctional policies. But will it be just to criticize the government policies when the government is having subsidies and waiver of loans most of the times, and then the government, more importantly, has come up with an e-marketplace, not just for farmers' crops, but also for them to trade their cattle. So is it just to criticize these policies?
Okay. I don't think it's just. I think it's an imperative. And I think I would be 10 kinds of a hypocrite if I remained silent in the face of what is happening. Let me tell you some of those schemes. The insurance scheme. First year, 86% of all claims denied. what it did was to make billions of rupees for private insurance companies, because for the first year of the insurance companies, in first year of the crop insurance, they did not allow public insurers to come in. So that the privateers, by the way, the same thing the Congress government and earlier governments did in telephony. When BSNL was not allowed to open in Delhi and Mumbai, so that the private operators could get it, capture the biggest markets in India, before the public provider could come in and offer an alternative. So essentially the crop insurance was a scheme, and by the way, you know, like health insurance for instance, my friend, health insurance is not medical care, it's insurance. Yeah. Let's see what the rate of, let us see what the rate of claim processing will be in terms of health insurance. 86% in agricultural insurance, the claims, 86% of claims were denied. Second, what are the schemes? Let me tell you about that scheme. In 2014, this government came to power promising minimum support price of cost of production plus 50%, right? 2014. In 2015, it gave an affidavit in the courts and an RTI reply saying this is not feasible. It would distort the markets. They were not so concerned about the distortion of the lives of 100 million farmers, but they were worried about the distortion to the market. 2016, Mr. Radha Mohan Singh, your agriculture minister, denied that a promise had ever been made. He said, we never made this promise of MSP equal to COP plus 50%. 2017, the government and its political party, the BJP, declared, what Swaminathan Commission? Look at Madhya Pradesh. Shivraj Singh Chauhan has gone way beyond the Swaminathan Commission report. And two learned, knowledge in the service of exploitation, two learned economists brought out a book released in Delhi on the Madhya Pradesh, on the achievements of Madhya Pradesh, formed a significant chapter. It happened in the same 24 hours that 5 farmers were shot dead in Mandsaur. And so you have, which of these schemes, you have a promise of doubling the income of farmers by 2022. Nobody, not even the government, claims it's on track for that. And they have never once, to this day, clarified whether they mean nominal income or real income. Which will double? If it's nominal income, everybody's income will double. Is it real income? How much will it double? Third, 2017 they said Shivraj Singh Chauhan is far ahead. 2018 January, the budget speech of Mr. Arun Jaitley, I recommend you to read paragraphs 13 and 14. The budget speech says, such a promise was made and it has already been implemented. So first a promise was made, then it was said cannot be implemented, it's a distortion. Then it was, we never made the promise. Then it was, Madhya Pradesh has gone far ahead. Then it is, we already implemented the promise. And in July again, the Prime Minister says, we are implementing it. So when, what is it that you want me to praise or admire in that kind of stuff? About the waiver of loans, let me tell you, there have been 2 loan waivers in India's history. National loan waivers are 2. One under Chaudhry Devila, when he made a flat 10,000 rupees waiver for everybody and kept it that way. The second was 2008 waiver under Dr. Manmohan Singh. I have to tell you something about subsidies. There is no nation in the world where agriculture functions without subsidies. Second, the largest subsidies in the world are in agriculture, and they are in the United States and European Union. Your farmers are beating those prices after billions and billions of dollars of subsidies are given, not to farmers but to corporations in Europe and America. Your farmers are still competing with those prices. It is something to be proud of, not to be ashamed of those farmers. Third, your waiver of loans. Do you know that every year we waive, yesterday, Maharashtra government waived loans or taxes of huge number of crores for wine growers. Who are the wine growers? Who are Sula Wines? Who are these guys? They are the richest farmers and richest CEOs who own farmland. Do you know that the British Raj gave more loan waivers than the independent government did? 1934, Alienation and Indebtedness Abolition of Act, Punjab. 1937, Madras Presidency Abolition. Those days there were no nationalized banks, it was Sahukars, and yet the government was willing to do it. Every year in your budget there is an annexure. They changed the name after I made capital out of it. It was called Statement of Revenue Foregone. Each year they write off 5 lakh crores for 1% of the population. Okay, look, all the farmers of Maharashtra together don't appear to be owing as much as Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi and Vijay Mallya. That is called corporate karza maafi. Please read the budget annexure. Last year and the year before last, they changed the name of the annexure and reduced the amount by half. So I don't see any justification, anything that they have done that calls for my praise. If they did, I would.
Thank you. I just want to make 2-3 very quick points and then invite you, anyone who wants to talk to us outside. I would stay. I know he has to rush for a meeting, but I'll stay for 10-15 minutes. Would be happy to speak to anyone. Two, anyone who wants to get in touch, Pari's contact details are there. And for me, my email is whatever you guess it to be, which is yogendra.yadav@gmail.com. Please feel free to contact. Our colleagues would be outside. You want to join any of these activities, they would be there outside. Please give your name and join that. 2-3 things very quickly. One is on land. Please, in economics, the word land has a slightly different meaning, which is not just the physical land. It stands for all the natural resources. And what we are witnessing in our country at the moment is a plunder of land in that sense of the term. Karl Marx uses a term. He says he says primitive accumulation of capital. Basically, the idea is that capitalism is never born by itself. Capitalism begins with dacoity and loot. That primitive accumulation takes place. I would suggest that what is happening in India in the name of land acquisition, what is happening to water resources, what is happening to forest, is actually that primitive accumulation of capital by other means. On that question that you asked towards the end, I completely see where you're coming from. I would make just one suggestion. In democracy, in large societies, if I want to crush you, if I want to kill you, I do not stand up and say you need to be killed. In a democracy, I would get up and say, Nari Shakti is Vishwa ki sabse badi Shakti hai. I would have 3 lovely quotations about women and what they can do, and then quietly announce a few numbers where you would not figure. So in other words, democratic politics has a mirage always. You have to cut through that mirage to be able to see what's happening. So please remember, whoever is being destroyed would always be offered some little candy, and that candy handing over operation would be the most visible operation. You have to cut through that to see what's actually happening. And and for that you just need to look at how women are. The biggest misogynists in this world, in India at least, in Indian public life, always begin their speeches by praising Nari Shakti. This is how democracy works. Yeah? So you need to sort of separate that. On that point about charity, I'm glad he's clarified. No, that's not what we want. And I said that ये बेचारे किसान के लिए कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है. This is for us. A, because as you rightly hinted, it is beginning to affect us. There is no way farmers would be destroyed in this country and this tragedy will not reach our dining table. Please remember, destruction of farmers will sooner than later reach our dining table. It already is, because the farmer is left with no option except to produce poison because of our policies. So we are eating a lot of poison, not because the farmer wants to kill you or his own children, but because they are forced into this situation. So A, it's affecting us. B, as he said, it's about our own humanity. You cannot be those who lived during colonial era, those who were masters of slaves, were not just denying slaves their humanity, they were denying themselves their own humanity. Men who do not respect women are not just being unjust to women, they are being unjust to themselves. That's one thing we need to remember. Thank you very much. Lovely interaction.
Thank you, sir, for answering all our questions. Now I invite General Secretary of Leadership Cell, Noma Faruqi, to present the vote of thanks.
Hello everyone. I, on behalf of the Leadership Cell of St. Stephen's College, would like to thank our guest speakers for today's event, Mr. P.Sainath and Professor Yogendra Yadav, for visiting us and enlightening us with their knowledge. The lecture gave us deep insights into the topic of the agrarian crisis in India and role to be played by youth. The point where Mr. Sainath talked about how inequality in India is well entrenched and structured would have made all of you ponder over the issue. I'm pretty sure the precious knowledge which was shared today will help us build a better country, a better India. I also wish to show my gratitude towards Principal Professor John Verghese, who encouraged us to organize this event. A special mention for our staff advisor, Mr. Kashif Ahmed, who supported us and guided us throughout. Also, thanks to the audience who were very patient and paid attention throughout the event. Before ending, I would like to tell you all how privileged we are to have a very strong working committee of first and second year members who worked extremely hard to make this event a success. Thank you guys. I now invite on stage former President of Leadership Cell, Musharraf Noor, along with Exec Member Namita Mittal, to present our speakers with memento of appreciation.